Hello guys, this is Naruto-kun and we are back with our new fanfic, which is What If Naruto Ran from Konoha with Haku Part 2. And if you enjoy this fanfic, then please press the like button and please subscribe to the channel. It motivates me to upload more fanfic like these for you all. Now let's start the fanfiction. Village hidden amongst the leaves. The center of all shinobi activity in Fire Country and the first ever hidden village. Founded less than years ago by the Senju clan and the Uchiha clan. The cultural hub of fire ninjutsu and bloodline limits. Today the Hidden Leaf Village celebrated the one day a year when they remember the founding of their great village. But years ago it was a day of scorn for the Uchiha clan, who when still alive, remembered the day their ancestor and mighty clan were held down by the first Hokage. Fireworks had been illuminating the sky all week and the construction on Tsunade's head atop the Hokage monument was delayed for another week, until the celebration early. In the Hokage office an air of joy and happiness was emitted from the room, which is odd since usually Tsunade is throwing chairs in her desk out the window. The Lady Hokage herself was acting strangely. She gave off a happy smile, without being drunk. She was doing her paperwork laughing at every paragraph. She actually smiled at Danzo at the elders and she was humming a tune which sounded oddly like the Macarena. To say Shizune was scared would be an understatement. She was having miniature heart attacks all over the place. Sandaime stayed away from the office for the safety and welfare of his heart and in fear of his life. It wasn't just because of the festival that had Tsunade all happy and cheery. No, it was the fact that in 1 week it was the 10th of October and tomorrow she would start making her way to the land of snow, where hopefully her only grandson was and where she was going to meet him. Tsunade-sama, we must prepare for your departure. If you leave to collect the Jinchuriki, then you must first be prepared to leave a suitable bodyguard and regent for when you return, Hiashi informed the Hokage, who smiled dreamingly out the window. Just chill, Hia-chan, she said to him as the other council members giggled at how she had addressed him. The Hyuga head's eyes rose high into his forehead with shock and embarrassment plastered across his features. I've got my bodyguard all sorted out and Sandaime and Kakashi will regent for me. Oh, and they'll be answering Tsuki Ichiraku with any of our complaints. He's my main regent. But he's a ramen chief. So, he's more loyal than any of you. He sees past hatred and what other people say about certain individuals. Surprisingly, he knows politics and he's there for the most important reason of all. Tsunade answered with a hint of evil in her voice. Really, Tsunade? And what reason may that be? Tsunade gave an evil sneer before replying. His appointment to regent. Everyone leaned in closer to hear what she had to say. Tsunade's sneer grew in intensity so much that it could be the sneer counterpart to Guy's good guy smile. She soon shouted the answer to the council. Pisses you all off. She began to laugh as many recoiled in pain from her loud voice, before gaining looks of anger and malice on their faces directed at the Lady Hokage. Hey, did you hear? That Tsuki guy is gonna be the Hokage's regent. No way, the ramen chef. What is the Hokage thinking? His appointment pisses off the council. And apparently the rumors going around about him. You heard those as too. Ayame Ichiraku stopped dead in her tracks at what she had heard. Those rumors. No one had spoken of them in years. Back when she had been a little girl and her father had been. Shit. It was probably someone on the council who had leaked it out. If anyone found that these rumors were true, then her father would be either put to death, imprisoned, or sent away for the reward back to that place. Ayame had to warn her father. He was in danger. The ramen girl rushed through the streets pushing and shoving people out of the way, making it easier to get to the stand. She had to get there before someone got smart and drunk and did something regretful. Her brown hair trailed behind her and her eyes widened with every breath. Ayame was a sight to behold as she ran. Like a true work of art. She was too far away from the stand, so the ramen girl decided to take a shortcut. It was an alley which led down to the high street and to another alley where Ichiraku was. However, Ayame took a wrong turn and instead of seeing the other side, all she saw was a black cloak. The poor girl looked up into the man's eyes. She could tell it was a man from the fact that his chest was so flat. Ayame? He asked curiously. The voice was familiar. It danced in the girl's head like a symphony of yearning. The beating of Ayame's heart increased its pace, beating in tandem with the song that was whispering within her mind. What are you doing here? She asked frightenedly. The stranger was about to reply when she started up again. Never mind that. You have to get out of here. I'm already the daughter of one criminal. I can't be seen as the ex-girlfriends of another. However, the stranger grabbed her hand as she turned. Who said anything about ex-girlfriend? He smirked. Ayame stood there flabbergasted. Are you kidding me? She asked scandalized. Do you have any idea how much I worry that you're still alive? I have to worry about if they haven't found you yet, and I'm always scared that they'll catch on to you. Tears appeared in Ayame's eyes. They cascaded down her cheeks like waterfalls onto her jawline. So you tell me, leaving me here without so much as a goodbye all those years ago. You told me what you had to do, but you could have gotten away with it, but I heard about it and it broke my heart about what I heard. You left me here and The rest of her rant was cut off as a pair of lips softly crashed down onto hers. The memories flooded back and engulfed her. The first time they met, their first date, their first date, their first time. The marriage proposal. Years and years flooded back before Ayame pulled away and slapping her ex-boyfriend. Baka, she told him. Just because you kiss me to say sorry to me doesn't make up for all the heartache. Come back when you can face me instead of just kissing me. And with that Ayame ran. Within 5 minutes she was in front of Ichiraku. But she was not alone. There stood Tsunade, Jiraiya, Sarutobi-san and Aruka, each ordering a bowl of ramen each. Spirits seemed high with them, but Ayame knew what she had to do. Naruto dodged Haku's Ice 7 barrage for the 6th time that day. The feminine boy had been ruthless in their training sessions. Zabuza had been teaching to show no mercy when faced in battle, especially in times of war. Haku, however, had taken these lessons to heart and attacked like this in every sparring match except against Isaribi. Naruto growled out his jutsu just in time. Hyoten. Black Dragon Blizzard Jutsu. The black dragon rose from the ground and spiraled at Haku. The boy, however, was unable to dodge and was sent flying into the wall of the Yukikage Tower. You'll pay for that, Ototo, Haku growled before moving at blinding speeds. Shadow Clone Jutsu, Naruto cried, multiplying himself as Haku appeared behind one of the 26 Naruto. The ice user aimed a kick at the top of his brother's head only for it to make contact and send Naruto up in a puff of smoke. He missed Ku-chan, the Narutos teased. Haku threw another 7 at the Narutos until all but one had dispelled. Haku Onachin, you wouldn't hurt your Otuto now, would you? Haku's eyes glowed evil as he aimed a kunai at Naruto. It whizzed through the air. Naruto ducked. And Isaribi had a kunai flying straight for her face. Her eyes widened in shock. Haku screamed at her. Naruto moved his hand as green chakra covered them. A vine spurted out of the ground and smacked away the kunai. Leaving Naruto, Haku, Isaribi and Yukie to marvel at the plant that now began to wrap around Naruto protectively. Itachi Uchiha scowled. He had been in this base for 6 weeks without getting to the outside world. His partner Kisame had gone on a recon mission to Mist. The rest of the Akatsuki had gone to their home villages to see what all the fuss was about. Parties had been occurring for over the past 3 months and none of them knew EHY. That freak Toby had gone to Konoha in his stead. The dark-haired teen scowled in his room, which was usually much different. He had done some redecorating since Kisame and the others hightailed it out of here. The floor was made of wooden boards, with a red rug thrown over it. A desk stood in the corner with a lamp and books residing on it. His bed was his usual but no had a red blanket with the design of the Mangekyo Sharingan pictured on there. A jutsu had been used to create a space-time window in his room so he could see the outside world. A series of pictures littered his dark walls. One was of Sasuke, his little brother. Another was of his old charge who he protected in Anbu, and another one which had been faced to the wall. Itachi could not stand the eyes of that one. Calendar displayed the date and all of his memos. Two particular dates stood out in the month of October. One of them was today. The day that Konoha was founded. It was usually the day an Uchiha was given shady looks whenever the E left their district. Despite the attitude of the general Uchiha population towards this holiday, Itachi always liked it. He especially enjoyed the date since the massacre. If it pissed off his family, then it was even better than Christmas. "Hey, Itachi-kun," came Zetsu's voice. "Enter." The bored monotone of the Uchiha Slayer called at the plant man phased through the floor. "You'll never guess what." Naruto poured out all of his energy and time into the books about Mokuden jutsus which had been taken by the Anbu of Mist decades ago when the man had died. Zabuza had taken them when he had left Kiri and had kept on to them in a sealing scroll. The Shidaime Hokage was the last known Mokuden user of the Senju clan, the clan whose bloodline limit was Mokuden. The Mokuden gene inhabits the Y chromosome in humans, meaning only men have the ability to use this. The female populace of the Senju clan obtain the power of longevity. However, there is also the cause of luck. Random members of the Senju clan will have terrible luck whilst others have amazing luck. The Shidaime had positive luck whilst his brother was only lucky in selling his perverted novels. The Nidaime Hokage was a pervert. Haku and Isarbi face faulted when they heard this. "Our hero is the forerunner of Jiraiya. Don't tell Yukie that or she'll go looking for the Nidaime's body, bring him back to life, beat him up then kill him again. She hates those books and all pervertism in general," Haku warned Naruto. "I think that's why she wanted to learn the sexy jutsu," Isaribi stated. "She wanted to know if Zabuza was a perv before she got together with him. I wish he was a perv. Those two kept most of the palace up last night. I can't tell who moaned the loudest. Yukie, Zabuza are the people trying to sleep. The Shidaime's techniques can only be passed down to male descendants." Haku read. "So that explains why Tsunade never inherited the bloodline. Her brother Nawaki would have had he not died. The Mokuden gene is supposed to reveal itself a week before the 13th birthday of the descendant. So I guess it was last week," Haku said as the scroll went on to give a few wood jutsus that a beginner could use. "Mokuden is really handy. The chakra energist within the power is supposed to be able to control the biju. The Shidaime divided the biju between the countries as a show of faith and peace. The elemental chakra for Mokuden is water and earth. Hang on Haku, a while ago you told me fire and air make lightning if fire is the dominant element. How come there are people with lightning-based chakra then?" Naruto asked his Oni-chan. "Oh, I forgot. You don't know." Raiga chose that moment to walk into the library they were in. In the old day Raiden was a bloodline limit. However, many of the Raiden users married into thousands of other families. Eventually it was so common that lightning became one of the 5 elements. It happened with Hyoten and the Snow Country. Haku's clan is the original Hyoten users. I think it was the Hatake clan that were the original Raiden users, he explained. Naruto's ear picked up at this. "Hatake. Like Kakashi Hatake, my old sensei?" he asked. Raiga turned his eyes to him before replying. Yeah, I think so. Their clan was the only one who could still use the white lightning chakra. However, since Kakashi has the Sharingan, it has overpowered his own bloodline. If the DNA from that eye got into his DNA code, it could cause a race of users of only one Sharingan eye. The white lightning chakra could die out if someone didn't inherit it. Haku finished for his sensei's friend. "You're smart, kid," Raiga praised. "Normally it's elemental techniques that are divided when the clan members marry off. Dujutsus, and the Kekkei Genkei of the Kagaya, Aburame, Nara, Akamaiki, Yamanaka, and many other clans can't be shared. Males of the Uchiha are the only ones who can pass on their bloodline, whilst it's the female members of the Hyuga who pass on theirs. Something to do with Y chromosomes." "Hey, Raiga Oji," Naruto called after him. What about the Mokuden? Am I the last user? Well, no, not exactly. There's a guy called Tenzo, but he was an experiment of Orochimaru, so he's got the DNA of the Shadaime Hokage. Then there's a bunch of Mokuden users from the Senju clan on another continent, the lightning swordsman explained. So there are people who can teach me? Naruto asked, full of joy. The boat was headed to snow country. Itachi didn't care. His target was there amongst the snow. He had to find Naruto Uzumaki Senju Namikaze before the other Akatsuki did. He was too valuable to be left alone. Iruka and Tsunade sweat dropped as Konohamaru ran from a group of ninjas painted pink. Why did we bring him along again? Tsunade asked as the brown-haired pipsqueak used the sexy jutsu on the ninjas he had been pranking. Because you lost a bet with him, Lady Hokage, Iruka stated. Why did you bring them with you? She asked again, indicating to his entire class who stood behind them. You're lucky you won those free rides, otherwise we would have had to pay for all of them. Well, no one was willing to sub and they won't leave me alone. Besides, it was a condition of your bet with Naruto Jr. I think even with this genjutsu I'm going to get gray hairs when I meet him. Iruka-sensei, came the voice of the youngest Hyuga main branch member. Iruka looked down towards Hanabi, who gave of a strange amount of killing intent, which was odd for her age. Please tell that insufferable little worm that we do not need the likes of him running Konoha's reputation through the mud. Tsunade didn't miss the high and mighty attitude that emitted from the Hyuga girl's request. Who did this princess think she was anyway? Damn Hyugas and their superiority complex. But Tsunade didn't like that kind of person. Someone who thinks of themselves above others didn't sit well with her. Oh Konohamaru, if you paint the ship and knock everyone out, I'll make damn certain you make Hokage, she yelled, TP him smiling. And while you're at, do something special for our Lil, Pale Eyes here. For the rest of the day Hanabi was unconscious due to blood loss from seeing her sensei nude. The Akatsuki was in an uproar. Itachi Uchiha had disappeared from the base after Zetsu had informed him of the cage meeting from a few months back. After he had heard about the Kyuubi brat in snow, he had hightailed it out of there before they could do anything to stop him. Pain sat with Conan as they overlooked the map of the entire elemental countries. So now the only country without a cage is Sound. With this new development, the other villages have far more political power, and trying to take over one village would be suicidal. We must plan our moves carefully so as not to be found out, the leader of the organization said as he drew lines with his eyes. Conan sighed defeatingly. Hi, Leader Sama, she replied, looking away from him. Pain's eyes squinted into a suspicious look. Conan, is anything going on? The blue-haired origami nin scowled at him before standing up. Yeah, something is going on. She moved towards the door, ready to leave. Those 6 pairs of eyes of yours are really blind. Pain, you have no understanding of women. She slammed the door, leaving Pain alone and confused. Must be that time of the month. The gates to the capital of Snow Country loomed ahead. Yukigakure was a picture out of a storybook. Towers made out of an crystal-like substance and warm white and blue houses rode up. The mode of transport was boats, which were used on the river, which was there instead of a main road. For image of Yukigakure thing, the Northern Water Tribe from Avatar. Why didn't I ever come here when I was on the road? The legendary Sanin, Tsunade asked as the class of youngsters Iruka had brought along stared in awe at the hidden village. Oh yeah, Shizune got seasick. He, Naruto Nichan is here. I can sense him. Konohamaru smiled evilly. I can smell the after effect of an Uzumaki prank anywhere. Tsunade's sweat dropped at the display of psychoticness. That kid either needs a girlfriend or a trip to a psychiatric ward, she muttered to Moegi and Udon, who shivered at Konohamaru's lack of self-restraint on his desire to meet Naruto. Hanabi scowled at her classmate. Hey Dobi, quit embarrassing us. We don't want the Snow Village thinking we are all weirdos like you. Can it Pale Eyes Tem? What did you call me? Are you deaf, you darn stupid bitch? Why, you sorry excuse for a Hokage descendant? I'll pound you into the ground for insulting my family's bloodline. That's a bloodline. I thought it was a daises that came with the sticks up your asses. Tsunade and Iruka suppressed a shared giggle as Hanabi tried to use Jukin against Konohamaru, who was jumping around like a monkey and running around like a headless chicken. So you want me to play your character's son? Naruto asked Yukie as they ate lunch on the roof of the palace. What movie is it? A Princess Gale 1. The famous actress Daimyo responded to her knuckle-headed Lil, bro. You're playing Gale's son who she never knew and never knew she had because she was in a coma when she was pregnant. You're adopted by the Rainbow Chakra mage in the mountains and raised by him and his wife. An evil smirk grew across her face. Your character is very interesting to say the least. Really? I'm that cool. Yukie Oba-san, I'll do it. No sooner as he said it his face met the tiles of the roof. How many times do I have to tell you? It's Yukie Ne-chan for Kami's sake, the Snow Queen growled. Okay. Yukie Ne-chan for Kami's sake. Are you mocking me? The daimyo growled viciously. No, Yukie Ne-chan for Kami's sake. You better run, you lil, fleabag. Yukie-sama. A snow junin announced his arrival in a swirl of snow. Yukikage Dono requests your presence immediately. A delegation from Konohagakure has arrived. Naruto clenched his fists and growled. Today was his birthday and the day he had told the Hokage that he would be returning to Snow Country with Haku after their supposed trip around the elemental countries. Great. Naruto drawled. Any chance of telling them I got myself blown up by a Kaden jutsu? He asked. Yukie gave him a stern look signifying her answer. You were the one who wanted to meet them on your birthday. Everyone else said that you could have just left out the last part about coming back. But no, you had to give a specific date. The blonde growled under his breath at the young woman and stood up to leave. Well, might as well go meet them. Maybe Iruka-sensei is there with them. Hey, do you know how many are here from Konoha? Naruto asked the Junin. The Junin replied, Hi. The Lady Hokage has arrived with one Chunin with a scar across his nose. He was stopped by Naruto's yell of joy. However, what the Junin said next brought Naruto's world crashing down, and 21 academy students, including the Sandaime Hokage's grandson. Shit. At the front gates, Tsunade and Iruka's ears perked up. Well, I guess Naruto knows we're here. Iruka guessed, judging by the familiar noise the orange-clad genin made whenever something extremely unexpected happened. Hey Naruto, Nisan, let us in, Konohamaru yelled to the boy he saw as a brother. Come on, I've got to show you the new pervy jutsus I created. The next noise that followed was that of a woman. A familiar woman which Iruka had only heard on the movie screens. Guards let him in. They have pervy jutsus. I must have them. Yukie Fujika's had Konohamaru in a bone-crushing hug. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, she exclaimed, nearly cutting off all air supply to the young boy's lungs. These'll show those pervs who's boss round here. Tsunade. Iruka and the class sweat dropped at the proclamation, however wheels were turning in Iruka's head. That's Yukie Fujika's. Damn it all, Naruto and Konohamaru have all the luck. No. Must keep clean thoughts. Anko would castrate me if she knew. Damn it all, Naruto, hurry up. So whilst we wait for my Otudo, how about some tea for us adults and we can send the kids outside to play with some of our trainees? The daimyo of Snow said. Honey, I'm home, the gruff voice of a man called. The door to the room slid open, revealing a sight which scared the youngsters in the room. It was Zabuza Momochi, demon of the bloody mist and current and first Yukikage. Oh, I see we have company. Iruka scowled at the cage in front of him with enough malice to make Manda shiver. However, the Chunin restrained his ki as to avoid trouble between the two nations. Zabuza greeted the guests pleasurably. Hokage done, Yaki Kor, Hiro no Mahoutsukai, he said to Iruka. The students turned their heads towards their sensei, who had gone deathly pale. Tsunade squinted her eyes at Iruka with a scowl across her face. Long time no see, ya damn Scarface, he joked at the Chunin. It has been what now? 7 years. You were only a 15-year-old kid at the time. I didn't think you had it in you. And working with the Makai no Itame of all people. I hear he's in Konoha these days. How is he? The Chunin growled viciously at the cage. Children, get outside now, he ordered. But Iruka-sensei, I said. Now. The class were too far frightened to not comply with the teacher's words. The sound of 21 pairs of feet rushing to the door echoed throughout the room, and Zabuza and Iruka stared each other down in a stalemate. Itachi Uchiha was praised as one of the best of his time. However, he was also told to be insane and slightly neurotic. This neurotic prodigy was currently getting drunk in the ship's saloon. It may be out of character for his usual darkness, but hey, even psychos like to drink, preferably because the drink makes them psycho, Tsunade being one of these. He had gotten seasick the minute he had gone on to the ship, and despite warnings, all he did was drink, drink, drink and drink some more. The Regual R. Sharingan remained hidden under his hat, which also hid his stupid grin and red face. He was too far gone to recognize Chakra, but found himself with familiar arms wrapped around him. Oh, my little weasel. It's been too long, she cooed into his hair. Itachi smirked and her hand rubbed his chest. He moved his head to meet his lips with his attackers. Hello again, my love, he said after the kiss. Itachi Uchiha was known throughout the elemental countries as a man who had killed his entire clan within one night. Some rumors even go as far as saying he did it in 1 hour. He was an Anbu captain at 13 and praised for his natural abilities, especially with his Sharingan. What he wasn't known as was a lover. Hardly anyone knew about him and his girlfriend from when he was still a hormonal teenage boy, destined to become the head of the Uchiha clan and an amazing ninja. Everyone expected him to marry the daughter of one of the head council members of the Uchiha clan. But no one expected him to fall in love with his current girlfriend, who shall remain nameless to build suspense. Currently he shared his cabin with her. They remained under the blanket even though both were awake, savoring each other's presence. You know, she began, it was rude of you to send a shadow clone to me. Itachi had to admit she was right, but hey, he couldn't just put both of them in danger like that. Itachi voiced this but added a few compliments to his lover. He was rewarded with a kiss. Her tongue slipped into his mouth and she rolled over him. Itachi was trapped underneath her, pressed against the mattress. His bare chest rubbed against her concealed breasts, which he wasted no time in caressing. Nosebleed moment. The rocking of the ship didn't even bother them as they remained trapped, their tongues within each other's consenting mouth. The Uchiha prodigy felt her arms spread out. She removed the blanket which covered her chest, giving him a good view. Itachi continued to kiss her until her soft hand grasped his most precious body part. She moved away from him upwards slightly, never letting go of his member. If you ever do something so stupid again, she paused for dramatic effect, you will have to rely on your little brother to continue the Uchiha clan. She bent down and licked his neck with her warm tongue. Do I make myself clear? She asked in a playful voice. Itachi moaned before replying yes. His lover once again lowered herself onto his body, their mouths meeting in a warm kiss. That's as much lemon as you'll get. I might one day write a lemon about these two. Might be in the sequel. Iruka stared down the Yukikage with venomous eyes. If looks could kill, Zabuza would be nothing more than particles floating off into the winds. So how are you, my cute lil nephew? Zabuza asked the scarred Chunin. Iruka's nostrils flared up dangerously. He unleashed a wave of killing intent like none before. I am not related to you, Iruka demanded with hate and detest dripping out of his words like poison from Anko's snakes. Oh, somebody's cranky, Zabuza joked. Not getting enough action these days, Dolphy? He asked. Being an academy teacher does that to people. But hey you. I get plenty of field time, bastard, Iruka yelled at his uncle. Zabuza gave a short but humiliating laugh at his nephew. I was talking about sex. Academy teachers don't get much of it. I've been hearing some strange rumors about you, dear nephew, Zabuz taunted. Uruka was up in arms at the mention of the rumors. What sort of rumors? He asked. Well, Zabuza's eyes narrowed playfully. I've been hearing you've been doing the dirty with someone. Uruka immediately shot back at him. Of course I have. I have a fiancée now and she is. She. Zabuza asked, genuinely shocked. I heard you were dating Kakashi Hatake. He said, bewildered. That's what some of my poker buddies from Konoha say. Uruka's face flushed red as Tsunade looked at Uruka with wide eyes before bursting out into a fit of laughter. Yu gasped, and gasped, Kashi. Gasp, oh that is rich, that is really rich. Ha ha. I was only 16 then and I was drunk. Don't blame me for Anko's idea for a threesome. I mostly did it with her that night. I barely touched that damn pervert. As soon as the words were out of his mouth, her clamped his hands over his mouth. His face turned the shade of red that was usually reserved for strawberries, it was too dark to resemble a tomato. Tsunade, Zabuza and Yukie stifled their laughter. In all fairness, they did manage to hold it in for 3 seconds. Before resembling the audience of a comedy act. But, Uruka tried to input, I didn't mean anything by it. Damn it. The scarred ninja growled dangerously. Stop laughing. He ordered. When none of them did, Uruka gathered his chakra and pulled his index fingers and middle fingers together, clasping the other fingers into each other. He brought his hands to his chest before activating his jutsu. Ninpo. Demon Satan head jutsu, he exclaimed. His head swelled up to resemble a disembodied head squeezed onto a pike. Shut up. His voice rang out all over the village. Heads turned, the Konoha kids looked over to the room, and Naruto fell out of a tree in the training area. Motherf. Haku stared at Isaribi's semi-nude form. All she wore was bikini top and a swimming skirt. Her bandages removed and her green skin revealed. He felt a sharp pain between his legs when he saw her green-scaled skin. The fish grill blushed uncontrollably at her friend. He seemed to be intoxicated by her green bits, something that made her hate herself sometimes. You're beautiful, Haku told her, standing up in a pair of swimming trunks. The pair were in the private underground swimming pool of the Yukikage, which stayed under the Yukikage Tower. It was the place where Haku practiced his water jutsus and Isaribi soaked so she could use her gills. Haku. Isaribi began before Haku knelt down and brought their lips together. Isaribi's mind exploded with emotions she had never felt before. Oh my god. A familiar voice rang out in the pool area. Haku and Isaribi turned to see Renmara staring with mouth agape at Haku. You're a guy? He asked, referring to Haku's chest. A large 4-pack lay above the hem of his trunks. His pecs seemed to be something out of a shoujo manga. Isaribi took notice of Haku's upper body and blushed. Why is there blood in the pool? Renmara asked. Everyone favorite ninja, Evil Eyes. He is our favorite, was going through a list of greetings. Hi. Hey Uruka-sensei. Hello Hokage-sama, Yumino-san. Hey Oba-chan. Oni-san. Long time no see. Hey Granny. Pleasure to meet you Hokage-sama. Nice to see you again. I don't bear any grudges. Anyone up for ramen? Name's Naruto. Why do introductions have to be so hard? Naruto asked the Pole he had been imagining as his sensei and grandmother. What do you think? He asked the Pole. The Pole remained silent as a Pole. Ya know you are crap at giving advice, Naruto stated. Look at me. I'm talking to a Pole. Naruto. Someone asked from behind. The blonde-haired ninja turned around to meet someone who scared the living daylight out of him. The grandson of the Sandaime Hokage. Konohamaru Sarutobi. Supposed reincarnation of the devil, Naruto bet this was true. A look of pure horror crossed his face as he finally realized Konohamaru was here. Naruto ni-san. Prepare yourself, Nuke Nin. The commotion did not go unnoticed by the occupants within the room. Was that Konohamaru? Uruka inquired. Moments later, a commotion was heard outside. A thump, a curse, the rattle of chains, and a triumphant gloat, followed by the promise of a castration. The door suddenly were shoved open, revealing Konohamaru standing with Uzumaki Naruto in chains. Hey Iruka-sensei, Zabuza-2-san, Yukie-ne-chan. Grandmother. Naruto spoke up. The silence was choking. The tension mounted up until it was so thick that a blunt kunai could cut right through it like it was a slab of butter. Iruka looked into the eyes of his once student and the son he never had. Jealousy and rage ravaged his heart and mind at the mere thought of Zabuza Momochi being Iruka's replacement in Naruto's heart. The Chunin clenched his fists as Naruto took a seat next to Zabuza and Yukie. Konohamaru feared the looks being exchanged between Naruto and the Godime Hokage. The Yukikage's presence was enough to make the young man sweat in places that he never knew he could sweat before. But it was the presence of the daimyo which really sent him into silent hysteria. The cold hard glare that swept in the room was unmistakably hidden by a smile. Konohamaru was barely a ninja yet, but even he could tell that if Yukie knew how to use killing intent, then the minds of the academy students would be turned to mush and a life of perpetual torment was ensured. Genjutsu be damned, none would be able to release a person from that sort of hold. The clock in the corner ticked once again. 11:59, 45 seconds. 11:59, 46 seconds. 11:59, 47 seconds. 11:59, 48 seconds. 11:59, 49 seconds. 11:59, 50 seconds. The seconds ticked on as Konohamaru felt beads of sweat rush down his pinky skin. Fear radiated off him. However, this went unnoticed by the other members in the room who were so engrossed by their staring contest that they barely acknowledged the wet patch that began to form at the young boy's groin. 11:59, 51 seconds. Konohamaru squirmed in his place, frightened of the building tension. 11:59, 52 seconds. Tsunade's hands clenched into a fist. Her anger was beginning to get the better of her. 11:59, 53 seconds. Naruto's eyes grazed over in cold ice-like determination. 11:59, 54 seconds. Iruka and Zabuza's hands twitched in anticipation. Yukie's lips vibrated anxiously. She, as a woman, knew that something bad was going to happen, and that it concerned Zabuza. She began counting down the second to when she knew something was going to happen. At midday. 11:59, 55 seconds. 5, she thought. 11:59, 56 seconds. 4, 11:59, 57 seconds. 3, 11:59, 58 seconds. 2, 11:59, 59 seconds. 1, 12 o'clock, 0 seconds. Then all hell broke loose. Itachi had never once met a girl like her before. She was the light that had kept him sane when he was younger. They had met at the Ninja Academy. They graduated at the same time. Both prodigies. When he joined Anbu, she became Junin. When he became Anbu captain, she was promoted to instructor of Genin students. They had been with each other for years and loved each other like no other. They had been so young back then. In hindsight, he never should have let his hormones take control of him like that. It had only been one night at the celebration of him becoming Anbu captain, and now he was a teenage father-to-be. By then he had already proposed to her and the child would only seal the deal. Unfortunately, the Uchiha found out. They demand that the child be aborted. Until someone pointed out that the skills of both parents could allow the child to become even greater, especially if it obtained the Sharingan. Itachi and the mother of his child both refused. Itachi made it clear that as soon as the child was born, he would leave the Uchiha clan and live as a regular ninja. The Uchiha were furious. How dare their prodigy go against them? Naturally, the blame was shifted onto the girl. Soon news escaped out about the child and the Uchiha could do nothing to keep it quiet. The entire village knew, and support for the two youngsters was sky high. No one cared about them being too young. The second you put on that forehead protector, you're an adult. When you make your first kill, then you can get married, drink, have sex and make children like rabbits for all anyone cares. They were going to name the child Noriko if it was a boy, or Miyaka if it was a girl. They never go the chance. One night when the mother was walking home, Shisui Uchiha met with her. There was a short confrontation, resulting in a despicable act. Shisui raped her. Then he disposed of the unborn child. Itachi was furious, especially when it was discovered that Shisui was ordered to do it by the Uchiha clan council. The Hokage ordered Shisui be imprisoned, but support came in the form of the Uchiha. Itachi had ran their clan's name through the dirt and they claimed they were well within their rights to rectify the problem. This caused the Uchiha name, and especially Shaosui, to be dragged through the mud. No one would take to them and sale prices went up for the Uchiha. Graffiti was usually found on the wall of the compound. Rumors flew around about incest and child abuse within the Uchiha clan. It was also the final straw for Itachi. He was the source of most of the rumors. And he was also the one who leaked out the clan secrets. But none could ever find evidence to properly accuse him of such. The evidence of the coup couldn't have come at a better time. Shisui was found slain underwater. It was said to be suicide, via genjutsu to the Uchiha. In the official records it was known as dishonorable suicide for reasons unknown. A rumor went around that Shisui was gay and had unrequited feelings for Itachi. The Uchiha were furious. And when news of the Uchiha coup came to the Sandaime, well, let's just say that there was an excellent assassin who wouldn't hesitate to exact his revenge. Itachi would have been lying if he had said he felt nothing but a tiny bit of remorse for the Uchiha and his actions. But what he did feel was glee and happiness, mixed with some remorse. But very little of that. If Itachi's Sharingan had told him back then of his future, then he would probably do it all over again, but without letting his beloved get raped by his once best friend. The identity of Itachi's lover will be revealed now. Ayame Ichiraku, you all saw that coming. Damn, I was so sure it was made unplausible, though broken, still loved Itachi more than the day they had first met. When he had stolen her lunch ramen on the first day of school and she had given him a wedgie, hanging him from one of the school's flagpoles. It was that day that they became rivals. When they grew a little they became friends. Then Somethin happened. Much like the incident between Naruto and Sasuke, they had accidentally been each other's first kiss. Although more comical with Ayame's shirt accidentally ripping and Itachi's belt choosing that moment to break and allow his pants to fall down. It sure was funny. Ayame felt Itachi's breathing next to her. The sound of his soft, smooth and tender breath sent shivers up the spine of the kunoichi turned ramen chef. It was sun warm and so, he rolled over in the bed, his breath now on her naked back. She closed the gap between her and him. Their skin connected softly as she pulled his RMS around her waist. A few moments and she felt something hard and something very fell. She rubbed her backside. Do you like that? He asked her. Damn, she had woken him and now, she was at his mercy. I thought you'd be out for much longer. We went on for hours last night. She turned to face him and pressed her forehead to his. Aren't you tired? I've got more stamina in me than that. Suddenly a perverted glint flashed in his eyes. Well, I've got more semen in me than what I've already dished out, my love. Ayame rolled her eyes and pulled herself tighter to her lover. The feeling of the ship swaying returned to them soon enough. The ecstasy they got from their romp was finally dying down as they simply held each other. Itachi kissed her neck softly and cooed into her hair. We'll be there soon, he stated. He sat up from the bed and pulled the covers away from him. He stood and walked over to the bathroom which had come with the ship. Wanna take a shower with me? He asked, a smirk plastered across his face. He obviously knew the answer long before he had even asked, but it felt fun to anyway. In a dark underground base, the snake Sanin cried in frustration. His plans for the Uchiha had failed. Not only did he not have the Sharingan, but he had failed in his invasion. The Sandaime Hokage was alive. Tsunade had taken his dream of being the Hokage away from him, like she had taken his crush's affections. Konohagakure no Sato still stood proudly, and he had been humiliated. The curse seal didn't even react. Sasuke seemed to be getting cocky, but nothing else. The Uchiha child was the strongest of the genin in Konoha, even beating some Chunin. But there were still some who were able to beat him. Sasuke, however, began to grow more and power seemed to kill his brother. He would soon be able to beat a couple of Junin, maybe some Anbu, and then he would go after his brother. He was gaining power and Sasuke didn't need the strength of the curse mark. Orochimaru had lost his trump card. The Sound Five remained hidden away from Orochimaru, preferring not to get into a fight with the man in a woman's body. Tayuya drank into her coffee with Kidomaru besides her biting down on some fly sandwiches. Kimimaro sighed as someone's head was sent flying out of the room, a snake attached to it. Omake. Minato Namikaze looked down from heaven at his 4-year-old son's Halloween costume. It was cute until someone screamed. Ah! The Yondaime has been revived and shrunk. Heaven had a few hours of the roaring laughter of one Minato Namikaze and Dan Namikaze, along with the chuckles of Hashirama Senju. Iruka had hidden a flask of water in his Chunin vest and used his chakra to have it grow in size. It formed a wave which oddly enough was the color of normal chakra. It surged at Zabuza with an amazing force. The Yukikage and swordsman jumped back away from the wave to avoid damage. Sweden. Mizu Ryu. The residue water on the floor, in the teacups and in the pipes around the room, surged at Zabuza, forming a dragon made out of the liquid. It barraged itself at Iruka, who used a shield jutsu to defend himself. The Chunin began to gather chakra once again before attack. Sweden. Shine Aqua Illusion. Droplets of water gathered around Iruka before torrents of water gushed towards Zabuza. Using his chakra, the Yukikage walked along the wall of the room before kicking down the door that led outside. With snow being simply frozen rain, then it would be easier for him to use Sweden jutsus. The way that works is that the snow and ice returns to water to be usable in attacks. Sweden. Mizu Ryu. This time a more powerful dragon arose from Zabuza's power. Iruka was able to dodge it, however, with medium difficulty. The teacher pulled out a set of kunai which he held between his fingers and thumb. Attached to each of these were a set of exploding notes. With precise aim and precision he threw the kunai and brought his hands into the tiger seal, thus activating the expulsive notes. Zabuza was barely able to dodge 7 of these, with the 8th and final one embedding itself into his leg. The Yukikage was able to pull off the explosive note and threw it away before it exploded. However, the kunai was still in his leg. Had he tried to pull that out first, no doubt that it would have exploded in his hand. Iruka began creating seals again to form another attack. I learned this from the Mizukage's scrolls we got as a peace treaty. It's his favorite technique. At the last seal he called out once again. Sweden. Kaio style. Deep submerge. Zabuza's eyes widened. The sound of waves could be heard even though they were miles away from any ocean. Sea green colored energy began to form around his hands. He lifted them above his head and pulled his legs closely together. The energy became a large sphere with a single spinning ring around it. Iruka finally brought down his hands and the jutsu shot forth at Zabuza. The ex-missing nin was able to dodge as the attack crashed into a wall and became a dissipating wave of water droplets. Kaio style was a style practiced by the Kaio family and a select few distant relatives. They were experts of hiding themselves during troubled times. My father just happened to be an heir to that clan. Okay, sounds OC. Rumor had it that the Mizukage only found out about his clan after the blood purges. Iruka informed the Kage of the hidden snow village. Iruka continued with his explanation. My father was half-leaf nin, half-mist nin. His mother was of the Kaio clan. My mother, your sister, learned her jutsus from him whenever he visited his mother after their divorce. Zabuza swept his sword at Iruka. The Chunin dodged the attack and headbutted Zabuza in the stomach. Tell me, uncle, are you impressed? Iruka asked him as Zabuza fell to his knees clutching his stomach. What is that head of yours made of anyway? Bricks. Concrete. Anti-Zabuza material. He jokingly asked as Iruka rushed him again. This time Zabuza was able to jump backwards and send forth a barrage of shuriken. Iruka was unable to dodge but was able to deflect most of the throwing stars with a kunai and his arms. Why did you take Naruto? Iruka demanded his uncle. Said blonde looked up at his old teacher with wonder in his eyes. Why would he want to know that? Why? Zabuza repeated. Why? He then chuckled before replying. Because he wanted to come with me and Haku. Iruka looked over to Naruto, who in turn looked down almost shamefully. To tell you the truth, I think I practically saved him. Had Kakashi or either of those leaf brats you call genin remained conscious, then they would have seen what would have happened when Naruto unlocked Hyoten for the first time. Zabuza, Yukie warned, knowing full well what Zabuza was saying, having been told the story by Naruto himself. Zabuza, however, chose to ignore the warning of his lover and daimyo and continued, all the while forgetting that Naruto was there and the fact that Naruto was scared of any of the leaf finding out about what happened. The fox broke free, Zabuza told them. The academy students in attendance didn't know anything about the Kyuubi, so they believed it was a code of some sort. The older generations in attendance, however, allowed their eyebrows to shoot up and their eyes to widen and dilate in shock. That's impossible, Iruka cried. If so, Naruto would be dead and Konoha would be in ruins, and that was if the fox were forgiving. Back in the huddle of academy students from Konoha, Konohamaru began to think and ask questions. Is this fox some sort of secret bloodline limit or super cool power? He asked Hanabi, who stood near him. Said Hyuga rolled her eyes at the question before replying. Obviously it must be something related with the Kyuubi. How'd you come up with that? A couple of students asked her. Which creature is the most famous? I mean infamous fox in all of Konoha history. My thesis is that Uzumaki somehow has a connection to Kyuubi, probably the Kyuubi's child with a human man, making him a Hanyo. Konohamaru's sweat dropped as he turned to Moegi and Udon. Hanabi Tem, you read way too many mangas and stories. Try Ika Ika. That'll cure you. Poor Konohamaru found himself being strangled by the Jukin user. Back with Iruka and Zabuza, the Yukikage chuckled once again. Only the conscience of the bastard. Unlocked Hyoten for the kid. Did you know that Mokuden cancels out the other bloodlines in a person should they come from dual heritage? Now that he's got the fox to unlock it, he can use both. Pretty fancy, huh? Well, the kid was afraid, ya see. Afraid of what? Iruka demanded as he stepped towards his uncle. Afraid of being blamed for the mission's failure. And blamed for being alive. He was scared that when he got back he would be the target of persecution. He told me what life is like back in Leaf. To tell you the truth, I rather prefer to live in Mist with a bloodline during the purges than be a Jinchuriki in Leaf. Iruka clenched his fists in anger. You don't think I wouldn't prefer that either? Iruka asked. It's horrible what they've done to Naruto, but the Sandaime would have understood. I would have understood. Naruto didn't need to follow you. He may have learned Hyoten from your apprentice, but why keep us in the dark? I would have helped him. I love Naruto like a son. Zabuza cut him off before he could say any more. Then why did you never adopt him? Last time we met you said that you had never felt hatred for Naruto. I doubt it would have been difficult to get the Hokage to agree. The boy deserved somewhere, but what did you do for Naruto's well-being? Buy him ramen. Teach him boring facts. I didn't feel ready to look after him back then, Zabuza. Besides, I wasn't of age to adopt a child, nor was I the rank. An Anbu is not a stable parent. In Leaf you must be a Chunin to Junin and be over 18. And I had to wait for clearance off that damn council, Iruka announced, sending another deep submerge at his uncle. And by the time I was given clearance for adoption and was of rank and age, I was his teacher. If I had adopted him, I could have lost my job as a teacher and Naruto would be stuck with a teacher who would have held him back just for spite. Sweden. Mizu Ryu. Sweden. Shine Aqua Illusion. The two attacks collided with each other, spraying water everywhere. Naruto stood on edge, hoping to find out more. Iruka had tried to adopt him. That fact spun in his head almost like a whirlwind. It bounced through thought and conscience, sending shivers of warmth down Naruto's spine. He had cared enough for him. I tried the best I could. Naruto is like a son to me, Iruka cried out as he also used Mizu Ryu. So, he was ending his time at the academy, so why didn't you try for the Junin exam? Compared to most of the stuff you did at Anbu, I hear that the Konoha Junin exam is just a written exam and a tournament of Chunin going head to head. With how you're fighting now, I bet you could have passed it. You could have asked to adopt Naruto or even have him on your cell. I would have had him in my cell, but no matter what, the council wanted him paired up with Sasuke. And with him there, that meant that Kakashi was a dead ringer for their sensei. Sharingan and all that. Naruto clenched his fists in anger. His knuckles whitened and his face grew into a feral snarl. Even if he had been Rookie of the Year and Sasuke in second, he would still have had been paired with the bastard Uchiha anyway. Why? Why? Naruto cried out to Iruka, who turned just as he sidestepped a Mizu Ryu. Iruka relaxed from his fighting style but remained aware of his surroundings. The Chunin took in a deep breath before replying to his favorite student. Naruto. Iruka turned towards Naruto and took a couple of steps towards him. He only stopped when he was inches away from Naruto's face. Have you ever heard of the Mangekyo Sharingan? Zabuza and Suand exploded into rage. What? They both cried in anger. Iruka, however, continued. The Mangekyo Sharingan is the final stage of the Sharingan. It can only be accessed by possessors of the Sharingan, usually Uchiha, with exceptions like Kakashi. Anyway, the Mangekyo can only be activated if the wielder suffers from deep emotional stress and titanic levels of grief and guilt. It has usually been activated in the past by. Iruka found it hard to continue, but Tsunade found strength in his anger. By killing your own best friend, she announced. The world could have exploded then and there and Naruto would never have noticed. In his mind's eye he saw Sasuke with his back to him. The apparition got closer until Sasuke turned around with a kunai and stabbed at what Naruto believed to be himself. The Ragual R Sharingan morphing into that of a twisted red eye. Note: Itachi, Kakashi and Sasuke all have different Mangekyo. I think it's because it's unique in appearance to whomever the user is. Iruka continued explaining to Naruto. You see, Naruto, you have a special gift. A power, if you will. It allows you to make friends easily, probably with enemies too, I'd bet. The council were planning on using this so you would befriend Sasuke, then when the time was right, he would kill you, taking the Kyuubi out also. Killing two birds with one stone. That's why I sometimes encouraged you to dislike Sasuke, hoping the council's plan would never have a chance of fruition. And as for me adopting you as a Junin, that was out of the question. Tsunade, who had been silent through most of the confrontation, and most of this chapter, poor Susu, spoke up with anger and hatred. Why not, Iruka? Answer me that. Why not? Iruka looked into her brown eyes and guilt swelled up inside of him. A single tear ran down his cheek. Because, he began, I found out the reason why the Junin exam was moved up to October 10th by the council. A secret third exam, used only for academy teachers in recent years. Here Iruka stopped and swallowed before a tear fell from his eyes. Fox hunting, Eltwith and your little servant, he trailed off looking at Haku with ravenous eyes. Doesn't it even bother you that I'm a boy? The ice user asked, disgusted. Pervert, he called Gato. The short man screwed up his face in anger, but it soon turned into a sneer. Well then you will have to die just like Zabuza here. Over why? RD. D. Dead body, came a familiar wheezing voice from behind Haku. Zabuza and Haku turned to see Naruto forcing himself to stand on his own 2 feet. His cuts and bruises healing nicely and his eyes burning with rage. Naruto. Haku spoke as he stood. A knife was thrown from Gato at Naruto. However, it merely landed at his feet helplessly. Naruto's eyes flashed red at his fallen comrades. His hands clenched and his nostrils flared open. The temperature fell with THW ground at Naruto's feet, freezing over instantly. Haku, stop, Zabuza commanded. It's not me, Haku insisted. It's Naruto. Haku's eyes widened in recognition. He's just like me. He is of Hyoten. That's impossible, the masked man demanded as his student as a dragon made of ice materialized before Naruto and all those in attendance. A demonic voice rang out from Naruto's mouth and cold and cruel laughter broke out from the boy. Now it's my turn, the voice drawled. Hyoton. Hyorinmaru. The ice dragon shot towards Gato, who became frozen on a block of ice. The thugs around him fled only to be met with the same fate. A spurred prison of ice exploded from around Naruto, cutting off his forehead protector, leaving it fall limp in the ice. The demonic voice once again rang out into the world. Oh well, I don't have enough time. It spoke, guess it's back to the seal. Hopefully the kid'll feel pain as I go back, hehe. The voice died down as red chakra turned an icy blue and Naruto fell to the ground in front of his sculpture of ice. What happened? He asked in a husky voice. You killed them, Haku replied, not looking away from Gato's frozen corpse or from the dead mercenaries. Naruto looked on wide-eyed at what he had done. Fear gripped him. He had lost consciousness and now all these people were dead. If the Leaf ever found out about this, then they would've. Naruto dread to think about it. Zabuza saw the look of fear in his eyes and the look of fulfillment in Haku's. Under his mask he smirked and stood up to face. Hey kid, he called out to Naruto, a plan forming in his head. Flashback jutsu. Kai. Zabuza knew what was going on. The SMAE thing happened when Gato attacked them on the bridge. The Kyuubi had gotten some degree of control over his vessel. Iruka and Tsunade didn't see the changes until Naruto lifted up his head, and he became covered in red and malicious chakra. Ah, Iruka-sensei. Long time no see. Your classes were always my favorite, Kyuubi spoke. Of course I would have had more fun if I weren't trapped in this fleabag. Iruka paled at the notion of his communication with the nine-tailed demon fox. Stop it, he cried. Go back to the seal demon. Ow, that hurt. The Kyuubi goaded, but sensei, the kid is a bit unstable at the moment, you might wanna get going before he and I go feral. Iruka did a very good impression of the Kyuubi growling at the moment. The demon merely chuckled before replying to the growl. Oh sensei, do me a favor. I will not let you get free, demon. Free? Who said anything about being free? I kinda like it in here. Tsunade and Iruka were caught off guard at that comment. The fox liked being in Naruto. It's a good life if you compare it to prison. All the ramen I want, and since I'm much smaller there's more for me. No need to go out hunting. A nice warm bath, no need to use the toilet, but it can get boring. If I had known I was going to get trapped in here, I would have brought a magazine or a book or two. This brat rarely reads. Frankly, I'm surprised he knows how to read. What do you want, fox? Tsunade demanded, walking over with her arm poised to smack Kyuubi Naruto at any time. If the kid agrees to go back with you, can Iruka-sensei take me out for ramen? Iruka added his input. But what about revenge? Aren't you angry you were sealed away? And what? End up like the Uchiha kid? No thanks. I still have some shred of dignity and I won't waste it being all angst and broody. When the fox put it like that, it sorta made some sense. Who would want to be broody and angst like Sasuke? Keep an eye on him, sensei, or we'll both be sorry. Iruka kept his eyes on the body as Kyuubi's features dimmed and a groggy expression fell upon his face. Naruto's conscience returned to being the dominant one for the brief moment before he fell flat on his face. It probably had something to do with the Kyuubi taking over for short periods of time and emotional stress. Naruto's body fell faint into Tsunade's arms as his head fell into her breasts, treating them like a single large pillow. It was good few couple of hours before Naruto woke up again. This time it was to Tsunade hovering over him with a damp towel to his forehead. You gave me quite a scare, young man, she told him. removing the rag and placing a kiss where it had once been. I guess you've never met me before, she said nervously. My name is Tsunade and I guess I'm your grandmother, huh? Naruto felt wetness at the corner of his right eyes. Sensei was an ass, she commented on the Sandaime Hokage, not telling me you existed, let alone alive. I left when Minato first became Hokage. I would have visited, but by the time I could feel like returning he had died and the Kyuubi was stuck in your gut. I know it's no excuse and I'm sorry. Had I any chance of time travel then I would use it in a heartbeat, just to give you a better chance. Naruto remained silent as a couple of tears fell down the Hokage's face. The Council of Leaf want you back. Yukie-san says you can have dual citizenship if you want. But you have a choice. Stay here and be marked as a missing nin by Konoha Council, you'll be fine from hunters, or you can go to Konoha and be a family with me and Shizune. I guess that makes her your second cousin as she was Dan's niece. Whirlpool, your mother's country may have wanted you back, unfortunately Whirlpool no longer exists, so those are your two choices. I won't think any less of you if you decide to stay. Tsunade stood up and traveled to the door. Just know this, she paused for what seemed like forever. Finally she mustered the strength to say the one thing Naruto had been waiting for all his life. I love you, and the lights went out, leaving Naruto alone in the dark.